Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll go over the steps for rebuilding my turbo downpipe. It is not a DIY or a how-to style video, but I wanted to share with you my step-by-step process and how I put it together. So let's jump into the first steps that I took in getting the downpipe built. So this thing right here, it sits just like that basically in the car on the turbo. So I'm going to cut this flange probably like right here, kind of at an angle for this first piece, like a pie cut piece. I'm going to build it just coming down into a 90. If I don't do that, it's going to come in contact with heater core and water lines. So I can't do that. That's not good. I'm going to have water overheating or melting the hoses. So I need to refab the downpipe going down from the turbo. Maybe I'll time lapse some of it. Otherwise, I'll just kind of put clips in here and there where I'm at. So yeah, that's where we're going to start today. Something I got to do before I tackle the downpipe stuff. I need to switch over my welder back to stainless. I have it set up for gasless flux core so I can go to the track and not have to take the tank along with me. So I'm going to get that all switched out. That's pretty easy. Just got to switch the spool and switch the polarity on it and it should be good to go. Then I can go ahead and start tacking together the piece on this flange for the 90-degree elbow coming down. Alright, so I took the turbo back out. I messed with the downpipe flange a little bit. So right now, basically, I replicated this piece onto the new turbo flange. So it looks somewhat similar here, except it's maybe a little too tight. Like this piece needs to be like right on the flange for it to work, and it still sticks farther past than where that is. So when you put this in here, it's gonna be like right there, like really close. I have to take this section out. I want to keep the flex pipe in here so it can move, but I don't know if I'll be able to keep it here. I don't know. It might be too tight to put farther down because that's right next to the bell housing of the transmission, so that might not work. You can tell it got pretty hot too. It actually burned through some of it right there because it got so hot. So I'll maybe give it a little extra wrap on this time. But I can maybe put, I can't really either. I got the AFR bung down here too. So to get this flex pipe down here probably wouldn't work. Maybe I'll just have to put it at the second section where the mid pipe is. So at least there's some sort of flex in the exhaust. Because I started off the season last year without a flex pipe in the car, and it vibrated so bad. Like you could feel and hear the vibration in the exhaust, and it cracked some of the turbo manifold because it needs somewhere for that vibration to go. So yeah, I gotta relocate it somewhere. I just gotta figure out where. I got the header wrap off of the downpipe and I did a little inspection on it. None of the welds are broke or cracked, so that's good. So I can hopefully use the majority of this down here still, and hopefully it'll all fit up or I'll make it fit. They're not real pretty welds, but I'm only using C25 gas with stainless, and you're typically supposed to run like a trimix, but that's all I could get in this small little scuba tank. So it works, it holds. Clearly I ran it through an entire season, 6 events on this, and it's all still in one piece. So there's no cracks or stress fractures anywhere, which is good. So why not keep using it, right? I'll probably go ahead and cut this right off on the top of this flex pipe, and maybe I'll cut this down here too. See if I can just like scoot it down a little bit so I can play with some more pie cuts up here. If I can just rotate this flex pipe down here, that might work. I got the turbo set back in here just so we can kind of see what we got going on. And where I have it sitting right now or positioned will not work. So coming straight down here, I can't get far enough in here for you to see. Maybe, I don't know. That's so close. I don't want to cut the engine bay down in here. I mean, I can if I have to, but I think right now for a first test, it's pretty close. I'm gonna cut this off right here, up at the top. I'm gonna bevel this first portion, the main portion of this flange first, kind of take a little more material off this bottom side down here. So it takes this angle and kind of kicks it in a little bit more. So then it's just kind of at almost a 15 degree, maybe. I doubt it's even at like 7 or 8 degrees right now. But just to kick it that little extra downward. Well, hopefully by the time you get down here, it'll be away from this section of the frame or the engine bay. Maybe, we'll see. I could even cut this back maybe 1/4 of an inch here to where the wastegate portion comes down. I just don't want to get too gnarly going that way. I mean, I can always put material back on, but it's going to be hard. The farther I go up into the flange portion here, the wider the hole is going to get, and that's going to make it really difficult when I have to actually get the rest of it back on and welded. It's already really thin material. Just looking at this one right here, I mean, that's not even a 16th, maybe just under. It's really thin material already. So yeah, I just gotta play with it some more. The other option would be, and it's one that I don't want to go with, is to try and get this elbow, instead of going down, to just go straight up and then come basically straight out through a section here. But I don't want to have to do that. You basically can't drive it on the street after you do that. It's so loud. This is a street legal car, so I want to keep it streetable. I don't want to have to hood dump the turbo. It'd be cool. It's loud, it shoots flames, but it's not what I'm looking for this build. So we'll keep working on going that direction. So again, I'll check back in just a minute. We are back for another checkup. So I got the piece cut off, trimmed it about 1/4 of an inch, beveled it just a little bit more, and it turned away from the engine bay little lip there about how much I wanted it to, so that's great. But then I clocked it a little bit to the one side, so now it's really close to that water line. So I'm gonna cut it off maybe at the second pie cut and rotate that just a little bit clockwise, so it'll come back towards this side a little bit. If you're looking at it, just clock from around here and just rotate it this way a touch. It'll come back hopefully enough, and then maybe I'll add a pie cut on the bottom just to extend it past the lip of the engine bay there, so I can get the flange on below that. So we'll take it back off, try a couple things, and check back in again. So I got the turbo sitting in here. I got a few more pieces onto the downpipe elbow. I also have the V-band set up right now, plus one piece. I will most likely be just rebuilding the whole thing, just so I can get that 4-inch flex pipe down inside there. So just a quick view here. So I got it so it's away from the actual engine bay piece there, the white portion, and it's about 1/4 of an inch away from that water line. I'll have both of them wrapped, and I can actually move that rubber line over just a little bit, so I'm not too concerned with that. Going down further, the V-band will be accessible with a ratchet right here, otherwise just an open-ended wrench, or coming through the front of the turbo section here. I don't know if you can see it, it's pretty hard to see. Yeah, it's pretty hard, but right down in there, it'll come down, go around the bell housing, and down by the mid pipe. So there's plenty of room in there to be able to get down through, but I'm gonna be able to reuse a bunch of this downpipe. So I'll take this straight section here with a little bit of a loop, and I'll reposition. If I have to cut apart a bunch of that, not a big deal. Otherwise, I do have more material up there. I have some straight pieces that I'll maybe just take to work and trim down some more straight pieces, some 2-inch pieces, 3-inch pieces, and some more pie cuts as well, just so I can get it positioned down in the engine bay where I need to go. So that's where I'm gonna leave it off today. It's a little chilly. I gotta go inside and warm up. So we'll check back in probably tomorrow, otherwise at a later date, to continue on the downpipe work over in here. We're back out in the garage today. It is now day 2 working on the downpipe. I got the top portion kind of tacked up for right now, and I'm gonna actually start to work from the bottom and go up and match with this piece up on this side. So I'll get right to it. I'll check back in a little bit. I got some cutting to do, and my goal for today, or for the next hour and a half before lunch, is to at least try and get as much of this tacked up as I can. So then maybe later today I'll come out and I'll finish welding it, and then all I'd have to do is get some fresh header wrap back on that downpipe so that it's all taken care of. And then maybe I'll even get to wrapping the heater core line up here with the heat shielding that I purchased, just so it's all close to done, because I want to get as much of this done as I can. I have to bring the turbo into work and get a aluminum 90-degree welded in here. I might trim this down a little bit and trim the other elbow down just a touch, because it's pretty close to where this power steering mount was. So yeah, we'll get to it, and I'll check back in just a minute. So I said I would try and get it tacked up in about an hour and a half, which I was able to do that and accomplish it. And I got the V-band on the bottom to work. I got the flex pipe in the bottom to work. So it's technically a 2-piece downpipe, but I can put the whole thing in as one whole piece, which is kind of nice. So I actually started stitch welding the top just a little bit, just so it'll kind of stay, and that's where we're at with it. So it's nothing crazy. It's probably about 2 feet long. Comes 90-degree off the turbo, comes down, does a little loop, kind of a loop, not really, but yeah, that's where it is. I'll probably leave it for right now, eat some lunch, and come back to it a little bit later. I'm just running stainless MIG with 308 wire, running, I believe, 030 for the size. Really small, really thin wire. That's all you really need for something thin like this. It's about a 1/16 of an inch material, or 1/16 wall. Really small, thin. If I can get that off the ground here and you can see it. Really, really thin wire. I mean, that's a little bit thicker than like a strand of hair. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit thicker than that, but a little bit of an exaggeration on size of wire. But it's not super clean. It's a little bit dirty for welding stainless. It's not like TIG welding. TIG welding, you're gonna lay some really nice dimes, well, really small dimes, but with this, you're basically just running straight welds, and I'm stitch welding. You can kind of see that. I'm just doing little stitches and then dispersing the heat around, and then kind of jumping back and forth. Again, it's dirty, it spatters really bad, but it's also MIG. It's not TIG, you're not as controlled with the voltage on it, but it's gonna work for what I need, especially for a downpipe that's gonna see a lot of heat and a lot of abuse. Yeah, we'll kind of weld a little bit of this. Yeah.
So again, it's not super pretty, but it doesn't have to be. It's gonna get wrapped. I just checked over, there's no cracks anywhere, no missing welds. So from a welder standpoint, it's pretty ugly, but for what it's gonna be used for, it's gonna be plenty fine. There's plenty of weld on there to hold. Last year, the one I had built, it didn't crack at all. This section here is still some from last year. None of that cracked or failed. That kind of has a lot to do with having a flex pipe in there so it can move. Then it's not putting a bunch of stress on the welds themselves. So for what it is, it's going to be fine. I have the downpipe all completed. I have it wrapped in the car all the way back to where the mid pipe is, and I also put the heat shielding on the oil feed line. As you can tell, this is underneath the car. You can see the flex pipe portion kind of there. That is wrapped all the way down around the bell housing. It's pretty difficult to see down here, but I have it all V-banded to the mid pipe, so it's all ready to go. The downpipe is now complete. I got it wrapped and it's all bolted back in the car. Now it's time to get into the intercooler piping rebuild. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.